Welcome, guys, to another edition of the Trading Titans podcast. So today we're going to be looking at the day trade, right? So we are 6th of November. So just showing you guys how we can use the profile to construct very good day trades. And we don't need to spend a lot of time doing it. I think it takes me all about 3 to 4 minutes to conclude what I want to do with the day, and the rest of the day is mine. In any case, today's quote: if it is not right to do it, don't do it. If it is not right to say it, don't say it. Marcus Aurelius. Now, this is kind of pretty close to my own heart, because I'm like the kind of guy I just tell it as it is. You know, I don't color code it. That's just no point, honestly. People make their own decisions in life, so I do not control that, and I can't control that. The only thing I can control is the choices I make, same as everybody else, right? So for me, it's really close to my heart. So if it's not true, I just don't say it. You know, it's no point. And if it doesn't feel good to do, it doesn't feel right to do, I don't do it. I stay away, right? So I'm not easily drawn into things, you know, but I try and use reason. I try and use good reason to make choice. And I think about it, and I think what it would mean to me. And I don't think about things in terms so much of loss and gain. I think of them more in terms of, what did I just learn? What's the benefit to me? So it's more about personal gain, personal development. Anyway, I think it's a good lesson, especially for this particular trade that you're going to see. And it's all about keeping discipline and also staying focused on what you want to achieve. Right, so this is a live day trade, and you're going to be seeing a lot of these through the podcast. But yeah, this is running our favorite asset, which is cable. So yeah, let's see how we fared on. Okay, guys, this is my day trading room. So at the moment, I'm long cable. Now, in the room, I only trade cable. Right, so when it comes to day trading, we believe that there has to be a certain degree of focus. So a trader has to pay attention. In terms of pound for pound value, it doesn't matter. If you trade euro dollar, you trade cable, you trade Aussie dollar, the only thing you're going to get is a lot of dollar exposure. So we prefer to more or less stay in one asset and make the money on one asset, and also it develops a certain degree of understanding for the asset you trade. So most of the time you'd find that professionals work in this manner, for the simple reason is that you can build an understanding of the asset and you can focus on the big drivers of your asset. All right, so day to day, week by week. So anyway, we're long. We'll keep following this through. We have ideas as to why we're long, but we believe that sterling's going to rise. So we decided to take a long position and be patient. Now, there are a couple of things that we look at in the client room, and which is really important in terms of what direction we're going. All in all, we believe that we're going to be long, right? So we take that position and then we wait. So in terms of risk management, you can see where our stops are. It's fairly minimal. If you want to know how we deal with exiting positions, then of course it makes sense that you join us at the client room, and then we can walk you through that process. Again, if you're familiar and you just want something to bounce your ideas against, that's not a problem at all. We're quite open to all kinds of traders. All in all, let's see how today turns out. Any questions, let me know, guys. Alright, so we're moving a little higher. Now, some days you get pretty lucky, okay? So it's not always the case, right? Some days you get pretty lucky. And what you get is the market just runs away. So we intend to stay long. Normally, we would watch this space as we draw closer into the morning. We have a couple of times that are really important to us when we trade. So we look at those times before actually pushing ahead and executing. Right, so yeah, so far so good. We're exactly where we hoped we would be, and now we just keep watching, basically. So now there is really nothing for us to do. It's completely out of our hands. We don't obsess about the position. There's absolutely no point. Once you're in the trade, it's done and dusted. There's nothing more you can do. You can fight back, and there are lots of ways we can show you, if the trade is going against you, how you could potentially recover from that and come out on top, which is what a lot of people struggle with, is in terms of their risk management and enabling them to be able to come out on top. So these are stuff we can show you. So again, if you're interested in sort of building your own knowledge around this, and you don't just want to perhaps copy someone and follow their trading, which could go terribly wrong, as a lot of people have discovered, it is much better for you to have a better understanding. Now, obviously, this is part of the client room, so it's not entirely it. So this is a sectioned out bit just for this podcast. So if you actually want to get the full experience, you got to join us here. You'd find that we ground down the data a little bit more, and we look at things from a little bit closer, and we will reveal some of the things that we do and some of the tactics we use in order to stay on top. So again, we'll keep monitoring this. I'm recording this video in blocks. This allows me to deal with regular clients and then talk to you guys at the same time that are not. So I'm recording this in blocks. So any questions, guys, obviously leave comments, send us an email, whatever makes you comfortable. Alright, hi guys. So the trade is continuing to progress. So right now we're trading considerably high. Now I tend to have benchmarks, okay? So there are places where I think the market will go. It is time based, and it's also statistical level based. Now, as it stands, we're doing pretty well. Okay, so this is normally a very critical time for me to judge, but I think also the market is getting a little overcooked, so that is normally evidence that likely there's some major volatility coming. All right, so there are a lot of factors that we put into play, but now we're in significant profit. Now, sometimes you would find it is pretty crazy to just simply just let the position run like this and not take precautions or cover trades and that kind of thing. So that is largely deep rooted in sort of advanced money management. So if I was going to protect this position, there are a couple of things I can do. Again, if you're interested in that element of things, then join us in the client room. You're going to hear me say this a lot. But largely, the position is successful, so we can get out of the trade now if we desire. But for me, at the moment, that is not the objective. But there are a lot of traders who will be happy taking profits at these prices. I mean, it's quite significant. You know, from where from our entry point of view, you know, it is a significant position to be in. So we're long at 130.85. We're trading at 131.17. So you can do the maths on that, right? And it's a full lot position. So again, you would find that sometimes we will trade larger. Remember, trades are relative to the amount of capital you have, right? Again, if you want to know the rotations that we're using in terms of the TPO, or the market profile, then again, join us in the client room. We talk you through the actual setup of the TPO chart itself on your MetaTrader or whatever else you use it on, and that will obviously calibrate you a little bit more. I mean, for us, trading is not nervous, as you can see. I'm just like totally relaxed. It's like there's certain things that I know will happen once certain other things kick off. So I'm never in a panic. I'm never going crazy or anything. I have a very, very, very good plan. No matter what happens, I'm fairly certain that I'm not going to be the worse for wear, right? You're going to get bad trades, right? But I'm not going to be broken, destroyed, and wrecked, and complaining, never wanting to trade again. Now, if you want to be in that position, then it makes sense to start looking at someone who just simply doesn't get on the panic train when something goes wrong, right? So there will be volatility in trading. Prices go up and down. So you need the discipline. You need the discipline to kind of sit through it all. But anyway, I'll keep on updating you guys. Like I said, it is, yeah, you know, I'm doing this in blocks, right? So because I got to bounce back and forth. All right, so any questions, guys? Again, just let me know. Okay, guys, so just to show you, we've exited that position. Right, so I've created a custom timeline just for today, so you can see what we closed out for. The important thing was that we have to recognize change, and one of the things that we do, and I'll show you the technique that we use in the client room to get out of trades that we know for sure are probably going to reverse, so they're going to go the other way, which is one of the challenges that most traders have. So as today we closed out for $96, 88 pounds in sterling. So that's essentially what we've got, right? So going forward, again, it's just something that you learn along the way and you get used to. But one of the things that we learn to do very quickly is recognize change. And by recognizing change, you can get out of a position or you can stay in. It's entirely up to you. Now, we also have another parameter we're going to assess for the day in case this position has just experienced some weird volatility and ends up climbing. But there are a lot of things that we put into perspective, okay? So just so you guys are aware, all this stuff you can learn in the client room. So whatever happens, we close for a profit, right? You know, in the end of the day, we know that if as long as we're doing that, we're fine. So sometimes we have to get out. Now, there are other areas that we're watching in the event where the market attempts to break those areas, and we will be in line to move on it again. So some days you just have to make your profit in steps. There's not much you can do about it. Relatively speaking, you protected yourself. It's better to close the trade, get out, and not think about it. So don't get greedy, basically. Yeah, so we wait, and we'll see if anything else pops up. But this is our morning trade. So basically, we locked in some cash. So whatever happens, you know, we got some money in the bank, and you know, we look forward to more trades happening or another day. Sometimes there's not much you can do. You'll have stellar days as long as you're protecting yourself. You shouldn't really be turning up losses like day in, day out, hour after hour. This shouldn't happen, right? So this is just an example of how the best way to play it when you get into trouble. So moving forward, any questions, guys, just let me know. And all in all, that concludes this side of the podcast. All right, guys, to conclude this podcast, so we were covering cable on the day trade, and if you remember, we exited that position quite early. So now I'm just showing you how the day ended. So some days, despite obviously being right from the start in our overall direction, some days the volatility is going to change your psychology. It's going to change the way you manage that position. And to be on the safe side, you're going to default to a specific playbook, which is, I'm just going to get out, right? There is no ifs or buts. It doesn't look right. And if it doesn't look right, you learn to get out when it doesn't look right. It goes pretty well for you in the long term. It's when you don't listen to that inner feeling that it's not right is when problems come. Also, experience has a lot to do with it. Because again, obviously, I'm used to looking at the profile. I'm used to seeing certain developments, and I'm used to getting that feedback and that information, so I don't have to mess with my psychology too much. But even at that, it's not a 100% foolproof game in that sense. So sometimes you just make what you think is the right call. And I think today I made the right call. So despite trading back to relatively, that could have secured me a bit more of a gain, but I feel I made the right decision because it helps me practice making these decisions, and it saves my life at certain points. And this is the reality of it. You need a lot more practice time with the profile. You need a lot more ins and outs. You got to do it more often. And the more often you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more you start to focus on the things that matter when you trade, not the things that don't matter. I mean, there's a lot of, just looking at some of the other, candlesticks and whatever, a lot of things happening. It's messing with your psychology. Just remember, if brokers are promoting candlesticks, it means that it makes a difference for them. If they're not promoting market profile as the latest charting, even though it's been used for years and years in the futures market, Chicago Mercantile Exchange is fully behind it. All the big guys use it. If they're not using it, or they're not telling you to be using it, then it means that it doesn't benefit them. And if it doesn't benefit them, then, you can do the rest of the maths. It will benefit you. And that's the bottom line. And in the end, if you don't use it, they're going to be laughing. That's just how the business works. So I'm not saying you can't have your candlesticks. Of course you can. It's just you got to factor in how easy can you make a decision. Today it took us all about a minute or two to tell you guys that the market is going to go long. Right? I just had to look at it for like 2 minutes and okay, I needed to be long. And even though I had to get out a little early, I still got out of the profit. That's the key operative word here, profit. So I got out with a profit despite me getting that feeling that it's not going to be right. So even though today we closed a little higher, and for the guys, if you were with us in the client room, we observed a lot of movement. There was sort of a lot of levels we were looking at and thinking, is there another opportunity? But truth be told, nothing presented itself, right? So we're happy to close the day with that gain, and that's what discipline is. And Obviously, that's something that you got to develop. And obviously, working with us, for example, in the client room, you'd find that we help you hone that discipline. So if I'm playing, I tell guys, look, be patient, wait for it. It doesn't have to be now. And sometimes that's all you need, is just someone whispering in your ear, say, wait for it, when that conscience starts to climb up upon you and tell you to do things you ain't meant to be doing. I mean, how many times have you guys said, look, I'm going to take one trade, and then you end up taking three? Yeah, I'm going to take one trade and you end up taking three. Or you say, hey, look, I'm going to put a certain stop loss, and when it's hit, and you end up widening that stop. How often do you set a rule and go against it? Well, it's lack of discipline. That's all it is. And it's not something that, we were born with. It's something we have to develop. Right, so awesome stuff, guys. Thanks again for watching the podcast. Any questions, just let me know.